name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Hey guys, hi Jake, already in the chat. DK is indeed here, as is VV, FG, and Ghosty as well. Ghosty, who has been, theorized to maybe be also the same person as another chatter. But anyway, not to get too much into that, we had Wimbledon Day 2. We had a lot of big results. I don't even know where to start. I mean, the title kind of tells us to start with Eala Krejcikova, or at least with the women's side of things. So let's go there. And actually, maybe the biggest story today was, sorry, Alex Eala, but Coco Gauff losing in the opening round in her first slam since Roland Garros. She hasn't won a match since Paris, but of course, it's only 2 appearances. So yeah, boys, what do we think about that? Was it just a case of a very difficult opponent? How is it that the switch, that the channel slam did not work out that well for Coco?
Vange, go for it.
I mean, honestly, it's a little bit of both, probably. I think lack of preparation, I guess, understandably, from the French Open success. I mean, some of that was that, but honestly, the opponent is a big factor. Yastremska was in form. She made a Nottingham final. She's very good on this surface. She was incredibly brave in the big moments, and she served for the first set, didn't get a couple of double faults. And you're thinking, okay, Gauff is in a tiebreak here. She's probably going to lock down, probably going to be the more solid player. And honestly, Yastremska kind of took it away from her in that first set and won that tiebreak 7-3. And then after that, I think the wheels just came off for Coco. A lot of double faults, a lot of anxious, nervous looks to her box. And Yastremska was really on it. I mean, just killing Gauff's second serve, just kind of playing really uber aggressive tennis, but safe at times as well, kind of not afraid to let Gauff make some mistakes. And it was a kind of a Yastremska masterclass for some of the second set, at least the first 5-6 games really. And then there was no way back for Coco after that. So I still think she doesn't defend as well on the grass as the other surfaces. That much is definitely very clear. The forehand, the contact point, the low bounce, I don't think it really favors her as well. So yeah, I think grass she still has to work out compared to hard and clay. And if she keeps making deep French Open runs, maybe she'll try something else next year, like not playing Berlin, or something like maybe play Bad Homburg or Eastbourne instead. But even that has its drawbacks. So it'll be interesting to see how she does next time.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a tough one for Coco today. At the start of the season, the serve was a big issue, and especially on second serve, it was something that people could get their teeth into. And today, it kind of came back in a little sense. Obviously, it disappeared it didn't fully disappear, but she dealt with it really well for the French, and obviously she won the title there. So, yeah, I mean, Coco plays 2 matches in this grass court season and loses both. Grass court season to forget. And Yastremska played really well today. She's completely locked down on the tiebreak. And then it seems that this can happen, that not even it was a close tiebreak, right? But you lose a close opening set, especially in best of 3, and then suddenly you're a breakdown in the second, and then it slips away from you as easy as that. You feel as though you're in the match until you're not, which sounds like such a stupid statement, but it's true. And as much as it was a bit of a shock, all credit to Yastremska. I think probably a slightly bigger shock was Pegula today, or am I crossing a line there?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're jumping a little ahead. Let me talk about Gauff first.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry.
I'm not giving you an word in edgeways. I'm just trying to cut you out.
No, I mean, you guys have already pretty much said it. Like, first of all, so for example, Snehi is saying there is a definitely good chance for Iga or Rybakina in that section. I think it was a good chance already. Like, as Vansh said, Coco's defense is just not as elite on grass. I think if she ran, like, obviously that's much further into the event, but into like the Rybakinas, the Sabalenkas of the world, and all players who basically have a similar style, I think they would enjoy facing her there. I mean, obviously not enjoy is maybe a stretch, but they wouldn't mind it, just like, I don't know, in some other conditions, she can really frustrate them into errors. Ukraine definitely will not have a ton of grass courts, but that is like 90% of countries in the world goes
Yeah,
to.
the world. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not only grass court experience that will let you be good on grass, right? Of course, that movement and everything, that is also important. But like if you're fine hitting the ball in lower bouncing, faster conditions, you're going to be good on grass too. Back in the days, it used to be said that like the Germans are so good on grass because they have carpet courts, and there is a correlation there. Anyway, that's I guess not the most important thing, but yeah, I don't think Gauff was going to be one of the main favorites anyway. Nonetheless, Yastremska round one, pretty brutal draw, had a good grass season as well. A lot of people were saying as well that the loss that she had to Eala, like that makes it a little maybe scary that, she won't be able to come up with the level. But Alex Eala, credit to her, she kind of does present a different challenge than Coco. It's not just, speed and defense around the court. It's a lot more like making the opponent uncomfortable, which on this surface, Coco was not able to do. And of course, some of you guys and Jake in the chat as well proposed also that the forehand and the second serve issues, they were very much there again. So maybe not the biggest upset of all time, definitely not, but still a story nonetheless. Maybe what you already mentioned, it wasn't the biggest, it wasn't the only big name American that lost today in the women's draw, and in fact it was somebody who I think Vansh had winning the title. I don't know what his feelings are right now, but Elisabetta Cocciaretto eliminated Jessica Pegula, the Bad Homburg champion, losing just 5 games.
Yep, my quote tweets were indeed a mess, as you can imagine, because I did pick Jessica Pegula to the title, and I was feeling good about it. I was feeling very confident about especially the first round. I will say that, like, Cocciaretto, I did not think was the type of player that could bother Pegula. She had like no elite wins really up until this point, and she hadn't had a great year so far. And I really just did not think she would be the type of player that would do this. But credit to her, she did play like amazingly well. But I think it's more about Pegula, because Pegula's ball control was way off in this match, and that's normally how she beats players like Cocciaretto. She was just spraying a lot of forehands. Her second serve was nowhere near as effective as it was on the grass in Bad Homburg. Obviously, the grass in Bad Homburg plays very different to what it does in Wimbledon. I think it's like a lot faster as well, and it's just not the same as playing on whatever court this was, court 2 or something at Wimbledon against. And the fact that it was over in like 58 minutes, like her body language throughout, it just did not suggest as somebody who was, prepared to like die at all costs to win this first round. And so I just, I was a bit taken aback, shocked. I think Cocciaretto got really used to Pegula's pace as well, and was really able to kind of mix it up with a lot of chip returns, a lot of slices, a lot of balls that just Pegula was not very comfortable, hitting through, especially the lower, shorter ones. And so it was tough for Pegula, because the end of the sets, I feel like that's where she made the errors in bunches, and they were actually, games that could have gone differently for her. And normally she wins matches like this. So, I think the slam results this year are disappointing for Jess, of course. But yeah, maybe the fact that she won Bad Homburg, maybe that just makes it a little bit. Yeah. The fact that she didn't get to a break point as well is surprising, also.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible result. Like, to just not sugarcoat it. It was one of those matches that I didn't even bother to check in on because I thought Pegula would win in the opposite scoreline.
Yeah.
And it's just such a not like a shock result. It's just a terrible result for Pegula. She said that in her post-match interview that it was the worst she's played all year. And it's hard to say that it's not. I think body language is key, and you could actually see it in her post-match interview as well, that she just really looked like she wasn't in a headspace to compete at all. Today, obviously I didn't see any sort of practice or anything, but yeah, she just didn't look like she was really fully there, and yeah, it was really disappointing for her. So they've now lost seeds 2 and 3 on the women's side.
Yeah, I don't know anything about any knee issue for Pegula. Maybe this is something that she said in the post-press or whatever, I don't know, but certainly didn't look like it on the court. At least it wasn't apparent. Yeah, so much spray, the flat ball that we lost from her on the grass, and she just plays an opponent who obviously can grind, likes like altitude, fast courts as well, and just being able to stick with the opponent. Gotta hit through that somehow. And yeah, for Jess to have that sort of a stinker, especially as Bad Homburg final, it's on Saturday. Maybe if it was on Monday, I would be more. It's pretty full loss for her, and I don't quite like the. Sorry, that's my internet. But yeah, I don't quite like all the stuff that people are saying about like Pegula and the slams and how she's always underperforming because, she was just in the US Open final. And if she doesn't play Sabalenka there, or even, in that Sabalenka match, she has some opportunities. So I think that it's maybe a little harsh on her. But then again, a funny pop quiz for somebody is that like, this at Wimbledon, for example, she's never even faced a top 40 opponent. The highest ranked opponent she's actually beaten is also Cocciaretto in another edition, which kind of makes you think, but she still had a quarterfinal and she almost made the semis and would have been with a chance there. So I don't know. Of course, the clock is kind of running out on Jess with the fact that probably, it's going to be like maybe the next couple of years where she's still in contention for slams. But yeah, this just feels like a big missed opportunity considering her draw also wasn't that bad. Indeed, I very much agree with Ghosty, by the way, that the best part of round 1 Wimbledon is all the gamblers in tears. I'm seeing so many comments like this. And yeah, it's funny. Also, I think Snacky had a question about who did I pick to win Rybakina. I don't know if we'll talk about it today. We'll see. I don't know if we'll have time for that since basically her match was not really a story, although her draw is also pretty difficult. Let's maybe talk about Eala and Krejcikova then. I mean, as Jake says, kind of cool that Eala was on center court, and obviously that was because she was facing Krejcikova in the defending champion. And obviously she ends up losing. I think Barbora is a very intelligent player and maybe not exactly what Alex wants to face typically, right? I mean, she kind of wants somebody who's just going to completely unravel when seeing her game.
Yeah, I was with the watch along for this, and first set Krejcikova was not there. It was like she was very much feeling the pressure of, defending champion, almost like Vondrousova last year, year before. But yeah, Eala was making all the backhand cross courts, just pulling Krejcikova out of position, and Krejcikova she wasn't going after the Eala serve really, even though that's Eala's weakest part of the game. She was, trying to use a slice forehand instead of trying to go after it, which for me was quite strange. She obviously lost the first set 6-3, and then it kind of unraveled for Eala. Krejcikova's level picked up a lot. She started going for return winners. She was pulling Eala out of position, putting too much pressure on that backhand, not giving it enough time to have that full swing. And kind of took it away from Eala, took it out of her hands, and she was able to kind of do what Vondrousova couldn't do last year and get through that tricky first round matchup to give her a bit of confidence going into round 2.
Yeah, like the sets 2 and 3 and sets 1 were just completely different Barbora Krejcikova's, right? Like just the fact that she completely flipped her game up in such a short amount of time. I mean, I think she's just her comfort level on the grass and comfort level on that big stage was also a big thing. Once Eala kind of went up a set, and then Vondrousova held, at the start of the second, you knew the match was like kind of shifting, the complexion at least. And Eala's serve was under much more scrutiny. Like after that, it was like Krejcikova just locked in on the return, and also she's so good at absorbing the pace that the Eala kind of gives her, especially on the backhand side, like the backhand cross court, the forehand redirecting shots were working really well. And then after that, she just got so comfortable that kind of everything was just pinging off her racket in the middle of her strings, and the third set just went by pretty quickly. So
yeah,
but obviously a really good experience for Eala to play on center court.
Absolutely. I mean, her first match at Wimbledon being on center court, I mean, that's not a very common occurrence, right? But set 2, I feel, was a little bit distorted from scoreline to what it actually was like. There was a lot of games that went to deuce. And Eala was definitely in the second set. She obviously broke. It was 5-1 and Eala then broke. Could have been 5-3. And then she had 2 points, I think, for 5-3 in the second. She holds there and then it might become a different picture. But yeah, Krejcikova just locked in on return. Completely different to first set. Like, she was not there first set, like, at all. But yeah, Barbora obviously comes through, and that will hopefully give her a lot of confidence, because she lost the first set, and I was looking at live ranking points. If she went out first round, she would have dropped to 92 in the rankings, which is obviously a kick in the teeth. But she came through.
Yeah. In terms of your question, Jake, sure. I mean, Eala, in terms of surface preferences, is like kind of like letting at the end, more or less. So yeah, I think she's perfectly fine on grass. If there is a slam where she's going to be dangerous, yeah, it's this or Australia or New York. Obviously not Paris, but the other 3 are pretty much even to me. And also, it of course depends on what you mean by make something work. I'm talking more like get through a few rounds rather than win the title, maybe. I definitely do agree also with this point that big servers are not the only type of players that succeed on grass. It's kind of like with altitude as well, where you have like the big hitters and you have these guys who just control the ball much better than the others and have some variety as well. And it's kind of like that with grass too. A lot of altitude players are good on grass too. I would say Cocheretto is a bit of an altitude specialist. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but there was also another high seed that went out. And that high seed is Zheng. Maybe, again, not the biggest story, because were we expecting much at Wimbledon? But another player, I guess, who just got a deadly round one opponent. And in fact, the same opponent that she lost to in 2023 in the opening round at Wimbledon.
Yeah, that's why this one was really not a big shock, because Siniakova has like the perfect game for grass. And just like, how low the ball stays and how crafty she is. The way she can just control, the pace from the middle of the shot. It's just like, it was so uncomfortable for Qin Wen to generate any kind of pace, because she likes to hit pretty heavy on the forehand. She likes to kind of go back on the return. She likes to do all these things that are just so great for clay. And I just feel like she really struggled, especially in that third set. I thought it would be a little bit more competitive because she won that second. She had some momentum, but then, the serve didn't really help her out that much. And then when she went down 3-love, it became really hard for her to kind of find any solutions to Siniakova's craftiness. And then, like all that double skills that Siniakova has, I mean, sometimes it works really well in singles too. She's won 5 WTA titles in singles for a reason. So I wasn't too shocked by this, because I wasn't expecting much from Qin Wen, really.
Ghosty, just to answer your question, she actually is playing doubles at Wimbledon with Eva Lees. She has, I can't remember who first round, but it's pretty tricky, I think. Listen, Siniakova is a perfect example of what we're just talking about. Not a big game, just crafty on a grass court. And that is exactly what there's the two kinds of grass court players. But yeah, Zheng just not really. No, I mean, yeah. As soon as she went down 3-love, as you were saying, and then there was that big game at 3-love where she kind of had that chance to get back into the game, but then I think she had 2 points to hold for 3-1, and then was broken. I was trying to keep up with it whilst on watch along. It was double break, and then you're gone. I mean, it actually looked like it could have been straights, but she kind of broke at 4-all in the second. But yeah, it was tough for Zheng today.
I don't know if Siniakova quite goes into that category for me of like not having a big game, but I obviously, in general, I know what point you're getting at, and I do agree with it. I don't know if the particular player is who I think of when I'm thinking that. But anyway, Siniakova, Zheng, obviously there's one player that is like very comfortable with this, has all the like all court tactics at her arsenal. Even not really. Vansh mentioned some of the things that she does so well on clay or like a slower hard court. Here, especially with the movement as well, which I think she's yet to master. That was going to be a difficult opener if she got through. Still likely not one of the tournament contenders. Maybe that's a little brutal, but that's kind of where we were with her. Yeah, I think there are a couple of high seeds or like potential tournament contenders as well that got through somewhat comfortably. But maybe before we get to talking about them, two-time champion Petra Kvitova playing her last match at Wimbledon. That was not exactly the most, the greatest of send-offs, but it had to happen somewhere. And I guess considering the last few years of her career, it's good at least that we're getting that we're getting her on tour for a while longer.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a very eventful match, unfortunately. I mean, she did go up a break in the first set, and I was kind of excited that it could actually be a
2-1
interesting
in the
match.
first. Yeah.
But then no, it just did not deliver really from a competitive standpoint. So that was a bit of a shame. I mean, I think it was very flat performance really from
One
Pegula.
of these is true. I think for Vanch only one is true as well. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So no, but as far as like her Wimbledon achievements, yeah, I mean it's pretty big to win the title 2 times. I mean the 2014 Wimbledon final is about as big of a like statement slam performance that you'll ever see in terms of just sheer domination, first ball to last. Just like the 2019 Wimbledon final, really, between Halep and Serena. But so I just that's what I'll remember the most, and then obviously like how close she got to being number one on like 5 or 6 different occasions. Couldn't quite get there, but definitely like one of the in contention for maybe the best player, men or women, to like record resume wise, all of that too. Just miss out on the number one, but it was a super great career. Something she can be really proud of, especially coming back from that really horrible knife attack. The fact that she was able to achieve so much after that and won a bunch of other grass court tournaments. I think she basically won every single lead-up tournament, big one that you can think of for the most part, and 2 Wimbledons as well. So at least she got a good send-off on court 1. And yeah, I think she's like a pretty popular player too. So it's kind of
sorry. Barty was good on grass. She won the title twice, so you could say that.
At Wimbledon?
Right? Once.
Yeah.
Sorry,
once.
Sorry, not twice. I mean, but still winning Wimbledon. I mean, you can't take it away from her. Yeah, I mean, that's just like a nightmare first round draw for someone you're trying to send off, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, the errors count really speaks itself. Navarro completely locked down after that early break. Just 3 unforced errors in the entire match. And yeah, 31 from Kvitova. But yeah, it's tough for Kvitova to pull a top 10 player first round of, the last major, the major, your last chance at that major after you've won it 2 times before. But yeah, just was never going to be. It was going to have to be some effort from Kvitova today, especially with how her movement is. I know on the grass is different, but yeah, I don't think it was ever going to be that easy for her today, and it showed. Jake, I find that statement highly offensive.
Yeah, I think Snehil with this, we can give them, at least at Wimbledon, a little bit of a pass because, there's just not that much grass. There's just not much time to improve, especially with the younger players, It's just tough to notice their progress, or it's just tough for them to make that progress when it's just a few weeks a season. So I think grass has a bit of a special feeling here. I don't think Vange actually tipped Ostapenko to make the final. Don't worry about that.
No.
But he did have obviously Pegula winning, and I did have Medvedev making the semis. Yes, absolutely. Also, Jake had this question: top 3 best women grass court players inside last 3 years. I mean, Serena has to be number 1, but after that, it might be Petra Kvitova.
And then Kerber, right?
Kerber should be in the mix. Yeah.
Probably those 3. Then.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere in the top 10, you'd have like Lisicki, Radwanska, Halep, maybe Barty, who somebody mentioned. But yeah, those 3 seems like a pretty decent top 3 to me. I don't think we're missing somebody like very important. Svetlana Pironkova fans, sorry, but should be like in the top 50. But I did love her grass game. Yeah, so that was Kvitova. Indeed, I mean, this is the event that makes her legacy, because we might have a lot of memories with Petra Kvitova. Like mine, for example, my favorite one is the Madrid match against Serena. That's one of the most perfect performances I've ever seen anybody put in. But like, that's not something that we're going to remember. Or, well, we might because we were following her career. But like in 15 years, nobody would be talking about that. Everybody will just be mentioning the 2 Wimbledon titles. So it was especially important, of course, for her to have, some sort of a send-off here. And, well, she came in here and she did what she could for the day. That's kind of maybe the sad part about this, but that was the reality of it. Anyway, so yeah, I mentioned some of the high seeds and kind of like potential tournament contenders that went through today. Any of you, like either of you, do you have anything to say on either Iga Świątek defeating Polina Kudermetova or Elena Rybakina defeating Elina Avanesian, or maybe even Mirra Andreeva defeating Maya Sherif?
I want to answer a question from Ghosty first, and then Vance, you can go. You were just talking about wildcards and Buisson. On the women's side, no wildcards made it through. On the men's side, 3 did. Ferry, Evans, and Jack Pennington-Jones. But if you're saying over Buisson, she lost first round of qualifying. Like, you're saying that she would go through in round 1 as well. Like, I feel like that's very counterintuitive what you're saying.
Fergus, but if Boison is not in the qualifying on her protected ranking, then would your opinion change on whether she would have gotten a wild card?
As in, so you mean if she wouldn't have been in qualifying?
Yes.
And what you think she should have got a wild card?
I think she should have if she wasn't in the qualies, but the fact that she was in the qualies made it okay.
I just feel like if she had had previous grass court experience, then that is absolutely fair. But someone that's never won a professional match on grass before, I feel like that isn't a fair. Not that it's not fair, but I don't think it's a good use of a wild card, even if it's going to attract attention with a name.
Isn't it a very special case? Semi-finalist at the last slam.
I just feel like you need some sort of grass court experience.
No, I asked the wrong person. I just realized, because if Boison isn't getting it, then if Boison is getting it, then a Brit isn't getting it. So yeah, never mind.
I'm trying to take myself out of that situation at all. I'm trying to take myself out of that situation. I just feel like you have to have some sort of grass court experience to have a Wimbledon wildcard, right?
Anyway,
anyway,
yes.
moving on. Vance,
Yeah,
go.
so Świątek, Rybakina, Andreeva, anything interesting about their openers? Have we learned much?
Very little. I saw very little of these matches, unfortunately. But yeah, Świątek, I think it was like she saved one break point at like 2-all, and then after that she didn't face another one the whole match. Is that right? I think so. But yeah, from 5-all she kind of just cruised. But up until then she was maybe just getting used to the grass. You know, not maybe some of her best tennis, but she served really well. So that stood out to me. That she found her groove and then served well. She needed to keep serving well because the draw will keep getting harder. And then Mira I didn't really see. And then Rybakina I think had such a big cushion in both the sets that even if there was a little bit of patchy play towards the middle to the end, it didn't really seem to affect her much. And I kind of just expect her to get to the fourth round.
Yeah, sorry, just reading Ghosty's comment. Yeah, these are all pretty much expected. Obviously, we've had a lot of seeds fall in the first 2 days, but these two, just with their first round matchups, I just couldn't see it happening. Obviously, Iga is someone that hasn't had a big success here in the past, but you know, it's nice for her. Obviously, she made final last week. Sorry, not final last week. Final last week. Sorry, in Bad Hamburg. And yeah, kind of continuing in that sort of vein, just progressing up the court, and yeah, it's good to see Iga playing with some sort of confidence on that sort of surface.
Yeah, I mean, out of these, I only watched Iga. Sure, Polina Kudermetova played some inspired stuff considering her losing streak, but in the end, of course, maybe only like the positive aspect of this is that if you compare this to the Pegula performance, you're like, oh yeah, okay, Iga adapted, Iga adjusted well. Whereas, yeah, Mira, I just don't think she was ever going to struggle against Mayer, and Elina Vanessian also hasn't been in the best of forms. Nurlan, I mean, I definitely appreciated what Barty was doing, especially the way that she was using the slice to set up the forehand. It was very Federer-ish. Was she ever my favorite player? No, probably not. But I did appreciate her a lot. Probably the boring answer, Jake, to be honest. Świątek, I would just say that. Just see if that ever develops into a rivalry, or if it's more matches like we had. So yeah, no, Jane, we haven't done the men yet. We will be going slowly there. I mean, this could be like this moment right now is kind of your guys' spot, like to mention any other women's match that we haven't covered that you think is important. I mean, to give you some hints, for example, Kostyuk losing, I think, was a reasonable upset, or Tatiana Maria, the Queen's champion, losing. Maybe that was big for Nurlan, definitely, because she lost to Katie Volinets. Karolina Muchova ended up losing to Xenia Wang in the opening round, which, you know, considering her health issues, I suppose it's also not a big deal, but in the end, that's still a relatively big story. We had also, who was I going to mention? One more name. And Victoria Boko getting into the main draw eventually as a lucky loser. So yeah, basically, if there's a women's match we haven't covered yet and you want to talk about it, this is the moment.
Did anybody watch the Kostyuk one? Because I feel like since those Sabalenka matches in Madrid and Rome, Kostyuk has not been winning anything. I mean, she played Navarro twice, which is a really brutal matchup.
Yeah, she had tough draws, so I was kind of thinking she'll probably get something back at Wimbledon, right?
Yeah, but then these back-to-back first-round losses in the slams against Bublik, and then this one, that's definitely probably very below par for her standards, right?
Just want to mention Bencic, kind of taking apart Parks, who's kind of has a who obviously came through qualifying last year and kind of has had a game that kind of suits the grass, and she's had a terrible grass court season. Parks losing 0-3 to Bencic. Bencic just hitting 5 winners and just letting Parks make errors. is, just locking down, not going anywhere. And it was a bit of a beat down, but it's a good win for Bencic.
Yeah, and then for Tatiana Maria.
Go ahead.
For Tatiana Maria, since Jake is talking about it in the chat.
That's what I was going to mention, so go ahead, yeah.
This draw was one of the worst she could have gotten. Just because volley nets is so steady. She's so good at handling players like this. I remember her playing Mira Andreeva in Indian Wells. Okay, this was still like a year and 15 months ago, but Mira is a much better player now, but still like the type of player who doesn't really mind craftier opponents because she plays so well with the slices. It doesn't really bother her. She stays really low on her shots, and she doesn't she has the kind of game to extend the points. And really, after the slices weren't working for Maria, there wasn't as much she could really do, especially in the second set tiebreak and in the third set. So I think Tatiana Maria would have preferred a more power baseliner for sure, because that's where she could have really used the pace and her grass court acumen, and then that would have been a better matchup for her rather than someone who's also a good counterpuncher and good defender. So that was kind of tough.
I made a slightly ironic comment today on Twitter that Tatiana Maria could have won Wimbledon if she just ran into 7 consecutive tall power hitters in a row. Not everybody caught that it was not fully serious, but anyway, it was not. But yeah, I mean,
you
it's
can't
what Ash is talking about. I don't remember where we mentioned that, if it was talking tennis or maybe it was the Iga and Carlos tennis podcast, but anyway, it could have been that. But basically, we both expressed the opinion that Tatiana Maria would probably prefer somebody who's just like oriented on getting onto the court and trying to blow the other player off it. And Katie Polinet's not quite that. Although it has to be said, Tatiana Maria still served for the match, so it wasn't that far off. But yeah, as Jake says, I mean, basically the last 3 wins she got in Queens, so impressive, but she basically played the same player every single match.
3 times.
So yeah, if she ran into them at Wimbledon, I mean, I don't think she would have been the favorite, but just like stylistically, it does suit her a lot more. So not the best opponent for her. Volinets still was close to making it, and considering Pegula is out of that section, I mean, maybe there was a chance for something, but we'll never know. I mean, she is 37. Her best Wimbledon run is behind us. That's considering she made the semis. I think that's pretty easy to admit. I mean, we've already spent almost 40 minutes talking about the women's. Obviously, it's the first 2 days of Wimbledon, so just 2. Basically half the draw is playing. So there's a lot of stuff we could potentially go into, but I think it's time to move on to the men's. And Jane was asking for it, and I don't think she was asking for it in order to, feel disappointed about this. I think she kind of wants us to be, oh yeah, so this guy lost, and perhaps criticize him a little. But anyway, we're probably gonna do that. Alexander Zverev losing to Arthur Rinderknecht. Obviously, that match already started yesterday, and it was 1-1 when they returned today. And the outlook, like the how the match was played, it did not change between the 2 days.
No. Yeah, it did not change at all. Zverev, at least in the first day, was getting a lot of looks to break in the first set. He should have not even gone to a tiebreak probably the first set, and then he did so well to actually sneak out the second. And so I thought he would have all the momentum, and then he would come in and he'd probably win it in 4, but it did not happen. Okay, yeah, I saw that comment, but what was that? Yeah. 6-3 third set for Arthur Rinderknecht. And then Zverev does sneak out the fourth set tiebreak the same way he sneaked out the second set tiebreak. Rinderknecht got really tight, but the issue for Zverev was that he got broken from 40 love up at 1-1. And in that game, he kept hitting really big serves, like 135, 136, like very consistently, but he did not hit his spots at all. And like that's the drawback that Zverev always does, right? Like he has a really high first serve percentage in the 70s, but he just goes for really, really big first serves. And it usually works, but then if you connect and you don't hit your spot, especially on grass, that's where you're going to pay more. And also, obviously, movement-wise, Zverev's not as comfortable. He struggles with a low bounce as well. Rinderknecht was able to approach him on the forehand and get a lot of finishing volleys. and he was just kind of a little bit better in the cat and mouse points as well. So yeah, in the end, it was like kind of a decisive 6-4 after the break. So yeah, for Zverev, actually, he's made the second week at like 18 of the last 20 majors. So this is a big, this is still a big upset, even though he has never been to a Wimbledon quarterfinal. It's still surprising to see him lose in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this was a terrible loss for Zverev, but to be honest, I was literally going to bring up that exact point, Vanch, that he was not hitting his spots whatsoever. Rinnik could just block return all day. Rinnik was not trying to go for big returns, trying to hit lines. He was trying to bunt it back centered towards the back of the court, making Zverev create the angle. And Zverev was not doing that. And when he was trying to create the angle, he would just miss. And it was really, I mean, to be honest, this really easily could have been a straight sets loss. I have no idea how he managed to squeak out that 4-set tiebreak. Rinnik got really tight on serve. And then, you kind of felt like, this is where like you classically see like, the top like 5 seed survives in 5 in his first round match and then like goes on to pretty comfortably make the second week. But yeah, again, Zverev just getting broken and, with his sort of serve, it's not something that's an everyday occurrence, but today it was. Like, it was really not that great. And obviously it's not his best surface or his preferred surface, but yeah, Rinnik kind of using his sort of, his touch and feel around the net to bring Zverev out of the match.
Yeah, I mean, it's a loss that very nicely represents all the issues with Alexander Zverev's grass game. Still, as Vanch pointed out, I mean, he's always pretty solid at these slams anyway. Like it's obviously he hasn't made a Wimbledon quarterfinal, but last year, he wins the matches he's supposed to. He's even 2 sets to love up on Taylor Fritz, who might now be the player to capitalize in that section. Who knows? Berrettini is out, that potential threat that everybody was thinking about for the third round if Matteo would have been, in better physical shape. And yet Zverev is not able to capitalize. And yeah, 5 sets of Rinderknecht dominating the proceedings, really. And just Zverev sneaking somehow getting these 2 tie breaks. But in the end, obviously, that did not end up mattering. And yeah, it's not quite as depressing for him, I suppose, as for guys like Medvedev, Tsitsipas, and Rublev, whom we also lost. And well, Rublev survived.
Yes.
Sorry. I want to say? Medvedev, Tsitsipas, and someone I wanted to say. Anyway, never mind.
Musetti?
Medvedev and Tsitsipas. Yeah, Musetti. It's obviously not surprising.
Rune. Shapovalov,
Oh yeah, Rune. Yeah. So it's not as depressing for him as Medvedev, Tsitsipas, and Rune, whom we lost on Monday. Especially Medvedev and Tsitsipas, but nonetheless, it's one of the worst losses he's had at Wimbledon. One of the worst losses he's had at slams for a while. So, yeah, considering the draw maybe as well, considering this could have been like his only shot at Wimbledon quarters in his life, maybe even. Yeah, gotta be a little disappointed, but that's exactly how he plays, right? Just 2-3 meters behind the baseline, defense tries to play through the middle, and if somebody can punish that.
As soon as you bring Zverev forward towards the net, he becomes extremely uncomfortable, especially on a grass court. And, Rinderknecht did that well. But I was actually on a watch along with Zach for Eastbourne last week, and he said that there's 3.5 guys versus the rest of the field who covered Wimbledon, and he put that half as Zverev and Djokovic together. And I was like, that's just a terrible call. Zverev's never made quarterfinals of Wimbledon, and that kind of just laid out perfectly for me to be right.
Well, if you asked Zverev before the tournament, he would definitely agree with Zach because that's what he was saying before the tournament. He was like, guys, like I'm number 3 in the race, and I've made Stuttgart final and Halle semifinal. So I'm one of the favorites too. But yeah, no, honestly, like he's not been convincing to me like really all year. Like the Australian Open final is kind of carrying him right now.
That's what me and Damien and I were talking about that, because Damien actually, what was it? We did ATP Weekly, and Damien said, no, 3rd best player in the world this year has been Draper. And I went, well, Zverev made a slam final. He went, oh, Yeah, like we've
I just like started counting from February onward.
Yeah, from February
in
onwards.
my brain, yeah. and in that case, obviously, Zverev is nowhere near close to like number 3. And after Wimbledon, he probably won't be number 3, like in the number 3 conversation at all, even with that slam final. But well, that's what it is. In terms of Rinderknecht, normally on grass, he's usually not getting results, but obviously, good serve and volley, net play ability, slice is decent. Why not? But he does like the clay as well. More time to protect the backhand, more time to run around. I think he's fine anywhere, really. Just kind of streaky. He usually plays nothing for like half a year and then has a decent end of the season to still finish top 100. That's kind of at least what it's been the last few years. And I think Jane is talking about that epic tiebreaker with Carreño Busta, which he dedicated to his grandma or grandpa who died that week. Anyway, that's not too important. Although, obviously, for him at the time, it was very important, and we do wish him and his family. Never mind. Anyway, yes.
Wait, John was asking about if I played on grass. If you count the queue at Wimbledon as playing on grass, then I guess you could say yes.
What do you mean again?
I don't think that counts.
In the queue,
the queue at Wimbledon, like they have like. Yeah,
but it's not a full-size court, right?
It's not a full-size court, no.
Yeah, then you haven't played on grass, no. I think somebody already brought up. Well, people actually brought Bublik and Fritz out. So let's maybe actually start with Fritz, who is in the same quarter as Zverev, and obviously was one of the other matches which started on Monday and then finished on Tuesday. He survives. I mean, I don't know. I won't call it a Pyrrhic victory because the match was not physical. So he can definitely like come up against Eala tomorrow and be perfectly fine. But his draw isn't really gonna like be easier from round to round. It's definitely very difficult in the first 3. But still, obviously, it's a big win. 1-5 down in the 4th set tiebreak. He kind of blew the first 2 sets. But then in the 4th set tiebreak, when it like really mattered, he was the player who survived. He was the player who was a little calmer. I remember Vansh in our preview on the Wimbledon draw, he said that Fritz was going to get like a lot of breakpoints or something like that against Petra Kvitova. Does it qualify what happened? What's funny is also that Petra Kvitova did not get a single one. And in Australia, he was literally the first player to ever go full 5 sets without getting a breakpoint, at least since we have accurate records for it. And now he's also the second player to do it, which is just insane. We've had serve bots, but to see a stat like this, wow.
I think Fritz ended the match with like 14 unforced errors or something like that, like a crazy amount. But
it's not even something that you can like praise him for, right? He's just not getting the space to make unforced errors. He's either like barely getting his racket on the serve, or he's getting easy putaways after his serve. So where are you going to make the errors?
Yeah, and then you look at Petra Kvitova, who made 63. Like, it was literally a game of who's going to get tight first, and it was Petra Kvitova. Fritz, obviously with that advantage of serving first in the 5th, got to 5-4, and then Petra Kvitova missed all 4 first serves, and then just completely locked out, got tight, and Fritz takes it. Obviously, maybe it could have been different if we had finished this last night, but that's a whole other conversation because everyone's saying how we shouldn't have finished last night, and but Fritz survives. Just Petra Kvitova's match. Petra Kvitova just basically breaking himself and taking it out of Fritz's hands.
What do you mean? Against Petra Kvitova? Or
also in Petra Kvitova serving the fastest ever serve at Wimbledon and still losing the point sums up his sort of status right now.
Yeah, I think against the big servers, Taylor was just trying to block, right? He was just trying to block with his forehand return, try to get into the rally, and then try to extend the point as much as he can. But actually, in the first set tiebreak, he got outplayed in the baseline rallies. It was Petra Kvitova who was like braver, and Fritz kind of played the points as he should have in the first set tiebreak. But then from 6-4, Petra Kvitova just produced 4 really good points. And it's the second set tiebreak that I'm sure would just break most players, but because Fritz was up 6-2 and then he missed his backhand at 6-5. That's probably where 2 or 3 of his errors of the 5 actually came from, unfortunately for him in that second set breaker. Because he only had 5 in the whole first 2 sets. And but
should have
he
won
just,
in
he
4, but
basically
also should have lost in 3, right? I mean, we
yeah,
can kind
like
of
he should have.
Yeah.
And then he should have lost in 4 because 5-2 up or 5-1 really in the 4th set tie break. And then Pericard had this like open backhand at 5-2 that he then misses.
Yeah, the
and
backhand
gets really tight.
The backhand's such a. Fritz was just trying to pin him in that backhand corner. Obviously, the backhand's definitely a bigger weakness to go to. The forehand has a lot of pace behind it and can be really good, but the backhand's definitely something that Pericard is less strong on. So yeah, Fritz just trying to dial in that backhand battle, and Fritz is going to win every single day of the week.
Yeah. So he just survives, and now come back from 2 sets to love. I think that was the 4th time in his career. Of course, he also did it last year in the 4th round
Against
here
Zverev. Yeah.
So, but his draw doesn't get any easier. Like Diallo is going to be tough, and then who is it after that? Either Van de Zandskop or Davidovich Fokina.
Davidovich Fokina, yeah. Van de Zandskop not an issue, but Davidovich Fokina is. I think on the Iga Carlos tennis show, I just said that like Fritz has a 55-45 every round or something like that. Like that's just kind of how it is. You know, he's going to be the favorite in all of these matches, but it's just going to be difficult. What he might like though is that if he survives all that, you know, there's no Medvedev or Zverev anymore. Maybe after that it will kind of like
the thought of doing both back to back seemed very daunting, right? Like going through Medvedev and Zverev to get to the semis is like
more 55-45s, you know. And now he might actually avoid that if he gets to the 4th round. Maybe he will get finally an easy round there.
I think it was a bit different with Zverev now. Like I feel like Fritz kind of just had the mental edge if he was to play Zverev, but I think Medvedev was
Medvedev is the unknown one. Because they just don't play each other. So
yeah, and also Medvedev kind of, you know, made the Halle final a bit of confidence, and in the last 2 years he's made semis. Like he likes it here. I think that would have been a push too far. I actually would have had Medvedev favorite and probably winning that one. But
honestly,
I think
like,
Medvedev is still the most
right?
disappointing results of the tournament in many ways, because like Tsitsipas nobody thought of anymore. Like. Yeah, he's just not considered.
And he was in the Alcaraz section, and he was injured, so that's not really.
So there's a billion things to say there. You know, Rune was in the most competitive.
And then Berrettini is coming back from injury, so you can kind of excuse that.
Musetti we haven't talked about yet, or Bublik we haven't talked about yet, and we're just going to like momentarily. But like, yeah, both of them also have some other stuff that you can really say. Yeah, I mean.
Who else? Francisco Cerundolo was the other seed also, right? That would have been the 16s.
Yeah, and that's very easy as well. I mean,
Medvedev saying in his post-match interview that he don't think Bonzi will ever play this well again. Like he was just
honestly, I listened to Medvedev's post-match presser, and I was just like, dude, like you're living in denial. There's no way, like you think.
It was like it then came up a little like a similar sort of situation. Came up again with Munar and Bublik. Bublik said to his team at like 4-2 in the 5th, like Bublik said, this guy's won 3 matches on grass in his career, and now he's moving like Djokovic.
How about Alcaraz? You know, saying during the match that Fognini has enough talent to play until 50 or something like that. You know, it's normal. I mean, did Bonzi play inspired stuff? Did Fognini play inspired stuff? Yeah, for sure. Is it maybe a little bit of a stretch that he will never play like this again?
There's literally nothing
probably
when Bonzi is peaking, and I'm like, you used to be able to do stuff, you know.
I mean, he played his best match of the season, no doubt. You know, that's at least that. You know,
Alcaraz said that during the match.
I mean, Ghosty, you know of this thing called hyperbole, right? But anyway, that was something that Carlos said to his team during the match when he was, I think, down in the 4th set. But yeah, I mean, we've already mentioned sort of these results. I think we just have to get to them. I think there was like one more thing. Oh yeah, with the returning. I mean, I've seen some players maybe respond very well to big servers because they are very much like leaning forward and just cutting it off so quickly. I don't know, Mahac, for example. But if you're playing GMP, blocks are very good because he's so tall, right? So most of the time he just doesn't want to like bend that low and is going to be uncomfortable, for example, on the match point on that +1 forehand. Anyway, let's move on to Bublik and Musetti. These were the two other big upsets of the day. Let's maybe just start with Bublik. I guess that was the bigger story. You know, if Zach was giving 3.5 contenders for Wimbledon, I think for me it was like 4.5. So Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic, Draper, and that half was Bublik. And well, that's gone. We obviously knew that this is a possibility. You know, Draper was like a lock to get into the third round. Well, depends. Some are questioning if maybe Cilic can be a threat. For me, he was a lock to get into the third round. Bublik was not. And Jaume Munar this year, I mean, yeah, I don't know if Bublik was right to say that, you know, this guy is playing just unbelievable or something like that. But Jaume Munar on fast courts this year is an actual trap matchup.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Alexander Bublik probably should have won the match. He should have had a match point at least, missing that open court backhand sitter.
Yeah. That backhand was a killer. And then Bublik on the next point hit a second serve return winner. And then in the tiebreak, he goes up 4-2. But I remember him saying after he beat Draper that it was going to be 7-5, 6-2 max if he doesn't hold in that game from 15-40. And then here, like in the fifth set, he kind of just mailed it in. So I was just like, and he loses that fourth set breaker. So yeah, honestly, Munar, as much as he's improved and everything, like this is the first time like Bublik really came in with a ton of like people were rating him as like a top 5 favorite. I don't think that was the case in 2023 when he won Halle, even though he made the fourth round like very easily, but nobody was really expecting him to do that because there was still like the Halle curse was very much alive, right? And also it was just Bublik.
I don't think it was the Halle curse that was leading people to think about it, right?
It was more Bublik. It was more Bublik as a player, right?
And it was one event as well, Halle. And here we had like 2 months of a prolonged excellence from him.
Right, and also you saw him playing a lot differently, like between Roland Garros and then this, and the racket change and the forehand looks different, and so people were like actually buying his stock, in like for like first time he's like put up a like 3 to 4 months of like actually consistent results and good tennis, and potentially tennis that could take him to deep into the second week, and then this happens. So I guess we shouldn't really be that surprised, because we knew this was going to happen, and Munar is just a fast court merchant this year.
Yeah, but you feel as though like the level Bublik can produce is just like is so good, like it's ridiculous. But you would have to expect a dip at some point because we know Bublik isn't like a robot like Sinner or Alcaraz. He's an entertainer like Alcaraz, but he can't be. You feel as though Bublik can't lock in, lock out, and then lock back in. Bublik either is locked in or he's not there, right? And that's the difference. As soon as Bublik comes into this sort of tournament and everyone's saying, oh, you know, he's 5th favorite if he kind of like turns up, or if he like plays like he did at Halle, where he's just, you know, like slapping first serve returns on the baseline and it's just like incredible to watch, then yeah, he's 5th favorite. But you know, best of 5, it's completely different. You know, you could do that for 2 sets and win 4-4, and you could beat anyone in the world like you did Sinner. But best of 5, you can't do that, and that kind of, you know, proved it today. Munar, yeah, and the pressure obviously getting to him, obviously in that critical moment, you know, serving for it. Damien said should have had a match point. Didn't, you know, the backhand's been so reliable for the last 2 months, where that's like one of the pillars of his success, along with his serve and his like creativity with his drop shots. You know, you take away that backhand and, you know, it's one of his big weapons gone, because when it's on, it's ridiculously good. But yeah, Munar keeps making up these big wins on surfaces that like people don't expect him to be good on, right?
Yeah, the other thing also is probably just his Halle results are way different than his other grass court results, right? Like the Halle conditions in that sort of indoor type vibe, like much faster than Wimbledon, where he's like 9-1 or something against like top 50 or top 20 players. It's like really crazy.
Yeah, I keep mentioning the loss, but actually the one loss he has was to Chris Eubanks, who was not close to the top 20. So his record is perfect against top 25.
I actually didn't
9
see.
and 0.
Did Eubanks win
9-0,
today?
yeah. What's up? No, he
Did
lost in the 5th set tiebreak to Jesper de Jong.
Why isn't Pavi G tweeting immediately about that establishment? Oh, it's terrible.
Probably did. I would imagine he did, you know. I think what you said about like best of 5, Fergus, I don't know if it applies today. I mean, Bublik lost the opening set and he played a perfect match from there up until he had to like close it out. Like I don't know if it has any best of 5, you know, meaning to it. But indeed how he was behaving on the court, like the body language from some point, you could see that like the frustration was just coming in, and it was coming in kind of for no reason at the time yet, which I think is related to just the new pressure, the new expectations that indeed were on him. I think, in 2023, obviously there was some excitement regarding Bublik after he won Halle, but it was nothing like that. By 2023-22, I just remember every single grass season we were thinking of guys like Berrettini, Kyrgios, Cilic, Hurkacz, maybe, like regardless of where they were ranked, we were always thinking they could be dangerous at Wimbledon. Bublik was never really in that conversation, and now he kind of became one of them, you know, or at least, well, he kind of, I guess, subbed for them because all the other guys are now either injured or out of form or something like that. And I mean, the pressure surely got to him. Jaume Munar is dangerous, but it is somewhat disappointing that we won't get an Alexander Bublik against a top player matchup at Wimbledon. But of course, he was also not a given to get through his second round. Marozsan, it's really difficult, you know, to get through Munar and Marozsan to even get to play Draper. I was scared how this was going to look. Honestly, I was like full on just ready to send out a tweet regarding Bublik actually, you know, applying himself very well to this pressure. You know, he lost the opening set. You think he's in trouble, and he plays a perfect match from there up until obviously that backhand really, like that one backhand just changed it. And I think the next point is a double fault as well. But with his serving strategy, that's kind of how it goes. Snehil, I like your call. Although best ever singles talent, Vijay Amritraj, you know, I think we have to give him some respect. But he is probably better than Nagal. I mean, he's definitely better than Nagal. Maybe he can be as good as Bambri or the Varman. Tough to compare for now. In terms of pure talent, I mean, I know Sumit has probably gotten to a better career high than Bambri. Anyway, never mind. That's not the most important thing right now. Anything more on Bublik, Munar? I don't really know if there's more to say.
Just kind of disappointing for Bublik in a sense, but, you know.
This was his big shot, and we know that his game is the best when he has that carefree attitude, right? And that was gone.
You obviously were saying there was nowhere near this sort of hype behind Bublik after he won the title in 23. I think obviously beating Sinner is such a big factor to that. You beat the world number one. Obviously, it's a grass court. Arguably, Sinner's it's his second best surface, and you know it attracts a lot of attention, right? So that's the reason why. I think there's no other reason.
You're right.
What was his biggest win in 23? Who did he beat in the final?
I think it might have been Sinner as well, or Rublev in the final.
Sinner was what?
Sinner was like a retirement.
Sinner was retirement as well, so it really didn't compare. Sinner was like number 9, Rublev was 7 like maybe.
8 or 7,
yeah.
But no, you're right. I mean, he beat Sinner for the first time in the last 50 matches, you know, as a player.
And he played a good match against Bublik he played a good match against Rublev in the 4th round at Wimbledon, which he ended up losing in the 5th.
Yeah, that crazy backhand up the line and Rublev diving, that iconic sort of like, Yeah,
but I remember like really wanting Bublik to win then, so we could get Bublik versus Djokovic instead of a predictable Rublev. But
has Sinner won any grass tournaments? Yes, Halle last year is his only grass court title. Who are our picks for the men's championship again? I mean, I think we all just thought it's between Sinner and Alcaraz, right? So we'll see how they get to the final maybe, but I was probably leaning for Carlos, but that's also because he has an easier draw. Anyway, let's move on to Musetti then. I think that was definitely not a great showing, but also, well, he just was out of rhythm after that injury. I think he was still looking fine physically, though, like kind of like Matteo. They were in a similar boat. They weren't injured, like they weren't visibly struggling, but they were both just very out of shape. And Basilashvili, to his credit, took advantage perfectly.
Yeah. No, I hit to credit Basilashvili because he actually played really well. I actually caught maybe half a set, and I was trying to keep up with it whilst on stream. But yeah, he's just taking it out of Musetti's hands as soon as possible and waiting. He didn't really, give Musetti too many looks in, and he was just hitting the +1 forehand so well. Like even when Musetti was putting it in an awkward spot, it was really impressive to see how he dealt with it. And yeah, I think it was Musetti said, like, he posted on Instagram, just like, it was just a bad day at the office. Like, that is literally, he said it was a bad day at the office. Like, let's move on. I think it was just a comeback from injury, even though he's defending semi-final points and he has to have been, pumped up for it. He just wasn't feeling like he was going to make another semi-final run, plainly because he has had that injury ever since Roland Garros, didn't play a grass court match, feeling as though it just wasn't going to be his year again. But yeah, Damien, I'm just looking at Jay's comment. Damien, didn't you say that you think that that semi-final run last year might be his, like, he won't repeat that run ever? Because I think you said that, I think a couple of weeks ago, but I can't remember.
I could have said that. Like, I'm not sure. I guess my position on this is, the benefits of playing on a natural surface. Like, clearly Lorenzo can use them on both clay and grass, but obviously on grass he needs to avoid being rushed off the court by somebody. So with a favorable draw, I could see him going to a semi-final again at Wimbledon. Why not? I couldn't really see it here, mostly based on, well, first of all, the injury, but also Sinner in his quarter. But let's imagine he is in the third quarter and he's just playing well in the grass lead-ups. And yeah, then he has a very good shot at the semi. So yeah, I think he might do it, but a few more times could be pushing it. Just a wider range of players, obviously, that can upset him. Basilashvili probably being one of them. Just obviously today we didn't see the best of Lorenzo, and he was just trying to slice him down. Like, there was literally nothing he could do otherwise. Just slice, hope for the errors. They didn't come.
Yeah. It was just unfortunate because he put in so much in the clay court season, and those 4 semifinals in a row, it just took so much out of him. And then he was pulling out of the Hurlingham exhibition, and that's when I knew, like, okay, it's going to be really touch and go for him at Wimbledon. And then you give him this draw, and Sinner is in his section. Shelton is there potentially before that. Nakashima in the third round. There's if Lorenzo was 100% and he had some lead-in tournaments, like let's say he made a quarterfinal at Queens, or he did something in the lead-up, like he got 3 or 4 matches in, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, he's going to go through.
Yeah.
So I definitely think in the future he's going to have some good Wimbledons. For sure, he can make some more deep runs, but he's going to need to. He's not a player who can just go on court without playing a match for a month against a player who doesn't give you any rhythm and rushes you so much, and then make a reasonable deep run. So yeah, but he'll probably be back. The bad news is that now he has to go to hard courts. But I think some of what he's doing here, I'm curious to see how much of it he can implement on the hard courts and go deep at the U.S. Open or do better in the faster hardcore tournaments and lead-in tournaments, or if he's just going to continue to be this kind of natural surface specialist, which may be good enough, honestly, to keep him to get him in the top 10, just because he did so well this year during the clay swing. But I wonder what that'll look like.
Yeah, that was Musetti. A very quick tournament from him, but Basilashvili gets his first Grand Slam main draw win since 2022 Wimbledon, and definitely deserved it in many ways. Yeah, what else did we have? Oh, I know who was the depressing player I was thinking of. It wasn't actually Rune that I wanted to put next to Medvedev and Tsitsipas, because someone else had a really disappointing result, and that is Denis Shapovalov.
Yeah, I was actually just about to talk about Navoni. I mean, where the hell did that come from? I mean, that was like the last thing I expected. Navoni is by no means a grass court player and just got outplayed today. I didn't actually catch any of it. Vange, if you did, please speak on it. But I was just kind of shocked by the result completely.
Well, it was really about the second set when it looked like Denis was by far the better player, and then like midway through, then he makes like double faults. He allows Navone back in, and then the match just completely changes, and Shapovalov just becomes so negative. He starts like his whole demeanor, his whole body language, like his rally tolerance completely went away. When before he was like thinking very clearly, he was executing on his +1, and then Navoni just kind of like extends a few more of these rallies. He honestly didn't do that much special, like between being out of the match and then feeling like he can win it in 4. Like there was actually very little there, but it's just that Denis can be so up and down and so wild that you still would have expected, okay, maybe Denis can bounce back in the 4th. Maybe he can produce another spirited series of games, and like he didn't. Like he kind of wilted, and that's very disappointing because he should be at least making the 3rd round here. And these conditions he loves, and he's made a semifinal here before, and he hasn't done anything really since Dallas and Acapulco semis, I guess, but really since then. So it's shame, but that's kind of what Denis is as a player. He has these like streaks of losses early, and then he'll have one really explosive run where we least expect it.
It's actually, I don't think I've like the. I'm not going to compare them, but I'm kind of going to put them in the same bracket for a second. That Shapovalov's peak game is like crazy good. Like when the backhand is working, and like in Dallas that week, I don't think I've ever seen someone play a one-hander. Well, yeah, I'm not taking out Wawrinka or Federer. Like take those out of the equation. I mean,
since you became a tennis fan, I mean, we haven't really seen amazing one-handed performances like that.
I haven't actually seen someone hit that many one-handed backhand winners like in a row, like in a week. Obviously had a crazy run, played so well, but then like since Dallas has just disappeared. And yeah, I mean 56 unforced errors today to 31 winners. I mean, yeah, just Navoni just waiting for, just kind of incorporating that grinder mentality onto the grass, just making sure he gets that extra ball back, making Shapovalov play as much as possible, and then waiting for him to, get lazy and, feel like he should be winning this match, and then the body language goes, and then, it was really disappointing from Shapo again, because obviously he's so good, and then, it just felt like he already checked out. As soon as he won that first set, he felt like he won the match, and he did not.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Jake is of course quite right about this, that the weaknesses that have been weaknesses are still there. A lot of the time you can just kind of like copy your previous tweets regarding Denis Shapovalov and just basically you're gonna be right. You don't even have to watch the match. I did, however, and when Vansh mentioned earlier, like denial, or maybe one of you anyway, denial for tennis players when they are talking about their opponents being amazing on the day, Denis went into the other like version of denial. He basically started saying that, oh, this is not even grass anymore, this is basically clay, it's so slow, the ball situation on the tour is horrible. And that's basically like everything that I just said, he was just constantly ranting about during the match. Obviously not ideal when you're trying to do well, when you're trying to perform your best. And he kind of got into his own head, which of course is also kind of similar to the previous like Medvedev performance that I mentioned and everything. Their opponents didn't even need to get into their own heads. They literally just did that themselves, and that's maybe the most disappointing part of their results here.
Isn't it kind of crazy that all these next gen players, like the original next gen, they all had like an amazing February, or like they peaked for 1 week in February, and then that's kind of it. That's kind of their highlight for the season so far, right? Like you have Tsitsipas winning in Dubai, you have Dallas for Dennis, you have Rublev who won Doha, and you just kind of like they just had one really awesome week where they just picked up a title, and then they like reminded you like, okay, they're still here.
They all picked up 500s and then kind of just.
And then they didn't carry that momentum really.
I mean, the biggest result those three specifically. If you're just picking those three, I mean, their biggest results since then as a combined. I mean, I can't even name it off the top of my head, like, because there isn't one.
Wait, what's again the question?
I was just saying, like, the three of them had like a crazy, like, just the three: Rublev, Tsitsipas, and
Shapo, yeah,
and Shapo. After February, I actually can't. Out of the three of them, I can't name their biggest result, like their most standout result. Like, I can't name it off the top of my head. Yeah. Just as a question, is that Tsitsipas' first round loss in his last 4 majors?
No, because he won a match at RG, right?
Yeah.
So I guess.
Oh yeah, he won his first round match. Yes, he did. Sorry. Yeah.
Lost
So I was
to
about to say
Gigante in
that's
the
the last.
second round. But
All
still.
4 of
Yeah.
the last majors, he's gone out. Round 1, he went out. Kokonakis of the US, Mickelson at Australia won his first round in Roland Garros, and then lost, and then obviously lost.
Echeverry didn't. He beat Echeverry at Roland Garros.
Yeah, round 1.
in the
Yeah.
first
That's
round, yeah.
A pretty
round one
good
losses for
opponent
Echeverry.
actually. Although that good opponent also lost in straights today. But anyway, yeah, I think honestly with the men, we've kind of reached that point where again it's kind of like free for all, and whatever you guys want to talk about, we can talk about. Because in terms of big stories, I think we've pretty much covered a lot. Obviously, there were some other big favorites that started like Djokovic or Deminor, but well, Tommy Paul, Sinner, but their matches, I mean, they weren't really all that exciting, even if Novak obviously lost the set. So yeah, what do you want to talk about?
I mean, I guess for Djokovic, he did that thing where he lost the second set tiebreak, like he's done in some of his other runs in the second round. I mean, Jami Faria, earlier this year, friend of Talking Tennis, he lost the second set in a tiebreak, and then just kind of won. Although the only thing that was different about this is that he just could not convert a break point for like 13. He went 13 break points in a row without converting, and so he was like 0 for 11 at one stage, and then he lost the tiebreak from 5-2 up with 2 points on his serve. So that was a little bit surprising, but then you just knew sets 3 and 4. You kind of knew that it was going to be like 2-2, 3-2, something like that. Like, because it's just Djokovic has done this a million times.
Yeah.
But was
He
there
wanted
anything,
to be, to
concerned
get
about?
this done before the curfew as well, right? I'm
Yes.
sure
So
he
there was
had
that
this on
finish
his
line
mind.
pressure.
Yeah.
I mean,
but-
Djokovic kind of has this thing like where like every other slam he like loses the first set of his round 1 match and then like goes on to make the semis. Like people are like, oh my god, like he's taking a set off him. Like Djokovic isn't looking that great. I mean, I remember Prismic AO 24. Like it was 1-1 and Prismic was like 4-2 up in the third, and everyone was like, guys, when was the last time Djokovic went out first round of a slam? And then, you know, he broke back and then won in 4, and everyone was like,
And then
oh,
we
okay.
just have that with Alcaraz as well at Roland Garros and Dzumhur, when Dzumhur takes a set and people are like, oh, I can actually see Carlos losing. What are you talking about? I guess we probably had it with Fonini as well, just the other day. But yeah, people are saying, Snehil has been mentioning him for a while now, that Monfils is also a big story. I mean, I'd agree, but I just haven't seen a ball from that. But I myself was certainly expecting like a 3-1-ish Ugo Humbert win. So yeah, I don't know if you guys watched that or not.
Unfortunately, I didn't. I wish
I
did,
actually
but
did not watch a single point
I
of
was
this.
playing tennis, so I did not watch it. No.
I was playing table tennis. What were you playing, Vansh?
I actually had like a work thing, so there was like an hour. It was an hour in the day where I just didn't watch anything, and that coincided with this because I expected Humbert to win it like 7-5 in the 4th, and instead he lost the 4th 7-5, and then I don't know what happened in the 5th, but yeah, I actually had Humbert in my quarterfinals, so that's another one I missed on. And I guess now you have to look at that section, and one more thing is probably Ben Shelton, right? You got to look at Ben as a expected to get to the quarters now. Would you say so? Given the situation, Musetti's not there anymore.
Just with his
not.
best of 5 ability, I feel like, yeah.
Maybe another sneaky Lorenzo Sonego run. Because Sonego now plays Basilashvili, and then that section is kind of open, and then
I think I had Umber losing to Fucsovic, but Fucsovic also then looked too good today, so I don't know about that now. But yeah, Shelton seems to be the favorite for the quarters now. Defeated the ultimate grass specialist,
Alex Bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything that really stands. We'll just mention it now. Neither Dimitrov or Nishioka retired, so I think that's a win for both. Dimitrov wins in 3. Pretty very standard procedure for a guy coming back from such a not even lengthy. It's just been lengthy, like back and forth, like matches of like a set and a half, and then has to call it a day because, good for Dimitrov to actually get back on court in a 5-set situation and come through pretty comfortably.
And also, what in the world happened to Kontan Halis losing in straights? Because that's another one I at least thought would be a lot more competitive. And
August winning a Grand Slam match in July.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if either
Monday though. Monday didn't win on Tuesday, right?
No, I mean obviously, if he played yesterday, then he would have won. But it's okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean Monday was deja vu. All 3 sets, 1-1 in every single set. He got broken, and in every single set he had points to hold, and Paul, he just didn't get a look in on Paul's serve really at all, apart from the first game where he had 2 break points, I think, and didn't take either of them, obviously. And just unfortunate. Monday actually played quite well in a sense, but the serve was kind of firing. But it's just those 2 games where he kind of didn't take his opportunities to hold, and then Tommy, playing Tommy stuff and came through.
We actually do have a rematch of Mute against Dimitrov. They played here at Wimbledon in 2019. And I remember Dimitrov was up 2 sets, and he had a break twice up in the 3rd, and he served for the match, and then Mute did his Mute thing and irritated the heck out of Dimitrov and ended up winning in 5. So I kind of wonder who's going to win that match, because that's the Tommy Paul section. And I feel like no matter who comes through that is just going to lose to Sinner in the 4th round. But I'm curious to see who comes through between Tommy and Grigor and Mute.
I'm not, because indeed everybody there is losing to Sinner. August Holmgren, Quentin Alice. Wow, what a shocker that was. Actually one of the biggest upsets of the day. I'm sorry. I mean, I know people won't be treating it like this, but to win in 3...
Did anybody watch it though?
I did a bit, and like Holmgren was just serving unbelievably well. Alice obviously not the best returner. Whenever he had a shot to come back into the match, he just blew it. But at the same time, Holmgren was not playing like this in the qualies. In the qualies, he was just fighting through, but looking like he's on grass for the first time in his career, which he was. But now he's there for the second time. It's pretty hot and like slower. It's also slower than in Roehampton. I guess maybe August is enjoying the conditions. I don't know. It's definitely one of the wildest results of today. I mean, probably won't stick because Thomas Mahac is in his 2nd round, but well, that's also a retirement king. What are the odds of Dan Evans getting back in the top 100?
Pretty low.
Would need something else outside of grass. So
he also has round 3 points defended the US. Like, we're looking at
Evans. Opelka has a chance in the Musetti Umber section. Opelka would have to beat Nakashima, right?
Whoa.
So that's kind of like the first issue, I guess.
If Dan Evans keeps on playing against Tiafoe and Khachanov, he might make it back there.
Yeah, so true. If Evans only played Khachanov, then he would be world number one. But unfortunately,
And
actually, world
Tiafoe
number,
as well.
yeah.
And Tiafoe too. Yeah. Tiafoe hates
Unfortunately,
that
it's
matchup.
Nori that has Tiafoe tomorrow. And
Basically, guys whose forehands can't handle slices. If Evans only played them, then he would probably win. Yeah.
I was going to say something. Mute Evans would be fun. Well, Evans is going to have to beat Djokovic, so
Those are two rambunctious characters right there, for sure.
I would hate to watch that match so much. It'd be so grim.
Which one?
Mute Evans.
Mute Evans. Oh, I thought Evans Djokovic. I want to watch that.
No. I'll be watching Evans Djokovic. Don't you worry.
Okay, so I think we will probably just very briefly mention what we're excited for about tomorrow, but also the producer had this quick question to us. Super quick. It's supposed to be super quick on where the Roland Garros final between Alcaraz and Sinner ranks. Probably, in terms of best matches of all time.
Oh, okay, well done. Oh, I used to put it behind 2008 Wimbledon. So maybe 2008 Wimbledon final 1, and then Borg McEnroe, from what I've seen on YouTube, and just the significance of that 1980. I'd probably put that ahead too, and then maybe this one number 3. I have seen some people make the case for the 2019 Wimbledon final, but that's not based on quality. That's based on the significance of that. Federer going for number 9 and Djokovic and the tie breaks and all of that, but I don't think I can put that number 3. So I'd probably put this ahead of that. And I'd probably also put it ahead of 2012 AO too. So
I was most definitely not born in 2015. For me, it's hard to say as someone that's been a tennis fan for like just over 2 years, but I'm going to say like 4. I'm going to put AO 2012 ahead of it, as well as 2008 Wimbledon. And then I'm going to stick with Vanch and say Borg McEnroe, even though I haven't seen it. So I'll go 4.
Well, I watched Borg McEnroe and I think it's nothing compared to that match. I don't know why people always have this like sort of issue to accept something that has just happened as, possibly one of the greatest.
Yeah, it's just recency bias. Everyone like kind of jumps on the train. You're thinking like, oh, it's just because you've just seen it, like you think it's better than this. Like, well, no, it's just actually it's better than this.
Yeah, it's actually better than this. Like the only one that for me is in the conversation is maybe Australia 2012. Wimbledon 2008, I've long thought it's slightly overrated. Let's just say that.
You might be the only person on the planet that's ever said that.
Possibly. And
yeah.
there's also Australia 2009 semi, Nadal Verdasco. That should be in the conversation too. Owen Lewis somewhere.
Are we talking about finals or everything? Because then... Yeah.
Well, everything. I mean, best match of all time. Like, honestly, my unhinged take is this was the best match of all time.
It has to be a final, though. I think.
It has to be a final.
I'd just like to clear up quickly. Snelly, I was born in 2005, not 2015.
Wait, really? You're that young? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where am I ranking? Wimby 09? Was the match that fun? Federer generates like 2 break points for 5 sets.
Or top 5 for sure.
Wimby 09 if it had a better 5th set. If it had a better 5th set, yeah.
You need a really good 4th and a really good 5th, I think. But they're both playing at the same time.
Where does
my car is still at 2008.
Yeah. 23 rank as in Wimbledon final. Is it not? Was it not?
It's good.
Sorry, which one again?
Alcaraz Djokovic 23.
Oh. I mean, not one of the best of all time.
Yeah,
it's a cool match. It's good, but nothing insane. Anyway, okay. So my unhinged take is this was the best match of all time. I'm sorry if it offends anybody.
I like it.
I feel like it's a very reasonable opinion.
Number 1,
not based on recency.
I'll say number 3.
I mean, comparing it to Borg McEnroe, for example, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a match with a great tie break. Absolutely, Borg McEnroe, 1980.
And a good 5th, though, because 18-16, 6 match points, and then 8-6 in the 5th. So I think you need both.
What do you mean 8-6 in the 5th?
right? Wasn't it 8-6 in the fifth for
It's
Borg?
8-6 in the fifth. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've watched it a while ago, but sure, that's kind of
This
okay.
is
Then.
maybe the
Oh, it
first
is
time.
8-6 in the fifth. Yeah. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so
I
think
do
fifth,
have.
four, and five, make
I
that
am
happen.
misremembering how the fifth set looked.
And the fifth set tiebreak is like one of the best tiebreaks you'll ever see. Like and it's obviously the significance of the rivalry. Borg going for 5 in a row, McEnroe.
I mean, 18-16, yeah, obviously that's legendary. Perhaps I have to rewatch the fifth set though, because clearly I had a different memory of that in my head. Anyway, yeah, one more thing, very briefly, because obviously we've already been talking about this tournament for a long time. But what are you excited about for tomorrow? Let's maybe, I mean, there's still a lot of matches. Let's maybe say that, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this like a game, you know. So basically, everyone, well, all of us, we have to say one women's match and one men's match, and we cannot repeat after one another. So let's start from the women's. And Vansh, you will go first. What is the women's match tomorrow that you are the most excited to watch?
Most excited to watch tomorrow. I will go with. I'm just going to look at the schedule.
Do you want me to go first? So,
yeah, if Fergus, if you have an answer,
you can go first if you have something.
On the off chance, and I'm really hoping she doesn't do this, Raducanu Vondrousova, but Raducanu has this thing where she plays someone that she like has a chance against, and then she loses like 6-3, 6-2. I really hope she doesn't do that, but I think it'd be interesting to see where both their levels are at. Obviously, Vondrousova won the title in Berlin and looked like she'd obviously won Wimbledon 2 years ago, and yeah, but I was actually really impressed with Raducanu. Obviously, she was playing a 17-year-old, so it's not like she was, it's a completely different test, but the serve looked like a really big weapon, so just be interesting to see how she handles that sort of pressure playing against her, because obviously last year she made the 4th round, didn't really have too much of a challenge. I mean, Sakkari was it was Sakkari. She was obviously the 9th seed at the time, but it wasn't really a big challenge for her. Obviously that was like 4-2. But yeah, be interesting to see. I'm also interested to see Osaka Siniakova.
Bunch? Have you
Those were probably going to be mine too. I was going to go with Siniakova Osaka.
Oh, you can then. I mean, Fergus just went for 2 for no reason, but you can.
And I guess maybe
go
I'll
for
also
his
throw in
second choice.
Danilovic and Keys as well.
No, because that's the one I was supposed to talk about.
Yeah, like I really want to see what happens to Keys after that Rusa survival, just like at AO,
You've put me in a difficult scenario.
Because I have Keys. I have Keys in my final. I had Keys in my final, losing to Pegula. So
me losing to Rybakina, but yeah. Okay. You've put me in a pickle because I really wanted to mention Danilovic Keys. Yeah, just want to see how it goes. Obviously, I think it was more about Rusa once more being a bother for Keys and Badosa at slams. But yeah, Danilovic, I don't know how well she actually translates her game to grass. I don't feel like I've watched her enough on the surface, but on paper, I would say probably not that good. And obviously Fergus took like the biggest matchup out there. I'm struggling, guys. I'm really struggling. It's not
then
the
most
Noshkova.
Then Noshkova, you have Noshkova in the semis, right? I have Anisimova.
I had Noshkova very deep. So I guess Valis is somewhat dangerous.
You don't want to talk about Cartel, Tomova.
By the way, Bushkova beat Sabalenka last time in DC, but that's
she was just coming back after the injury, I guess. I mean, after the injury as well, but just missing the Olympics and everything. I'm struggling. There was something more though that I had on my mind. Oh yeah, I love Alexandra Sasnovic, so I'm gonna watch her against Svitolina. She's gonna lose like 2-6 to 6, but I'm gonna watch it. So maybe that's your answer.
I never fail to love the match that Damien picks out to watch. Like, of all the matches, he never if it's on center court or court 1, Damien will not be tuning in.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Court 4 or court 6, Damien's there. Damien will be there watching.
I actually don't know what's on center court tomorrow, but yeah, most days it's going to be like that.
Is on center court. I also think Bolter is on center court. If I'm
okay, yeah, I mean Bolter is clearly there.
Wait,
yeah,
no,
Sabalenka Buskova is there.
She's on court 1.
Yeah, Sabalenka Buskova, Raducanu Vondrousova, Bolter
Tarbet
Sierra,
Alcaraz.
and then it's Fritz Diallo. Oh, Fritz Diallo on court 1. I do want to see that, but yeah, otherwise center court 1, not really. Anyway, speaking of the men's, because we've already given you who we want to watch tomorrow in terms of the women. Yeah, I was not talking about Clara Towson today. Sorry, Jake, if you were expecting that. She did have a tough win over Heather Watson. Anyway, so the men's, same game. I mean, Fergus went first last time. So, Vansh, what do you want to watch tomorrow?
There are so many men's matches I want to watch tomorrow. Like, too many. Should I just name all of them?
No, you can only name one.
Okay, fine.
Honestly, I don't think there are that many. It's like 3 or 4 that are like really standing out. So you should be fine.
I don't know. Okay, I guess I'll go with Alcaraz versus Tarvin, just because Oliver in the qualifying and in the first round. I want to see what he can do. I want to see what he can do against Carlos, and Carlos coming back from that 5-setter. I'm curious. Yeah.
As much as I will be watching, I can't see it being any more than like 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 Alcaraz. Tava has looked so impressive as someone that's coming out of university. Well, he isn't even out of university yet, and I very much appreciate that he is here for fans and to play his brand of tennis and not for money, as he is. Out of the £99,000 he's made so far, he is taking home £9,999 of that, because USA universities have stupid rules. But I'm super excited for that tomorrow. But as you've seen, I can't pick that aside from.
Question: If Tarvin were to win this match, would it be the biggest upset
ever
since Federer versus Stakhovsky at Wimbledon?
At Wimbledon, yeah. But there's also
ranking-wise, surely. I mean,
would this be even bigger than that?
7-19.
I don't know.
I
think Istomin over Djokovic was bigger because you've got like so many years of watching Istomin, and then he does that. And Tarvet, we've mostly watched him 2-3 times, so.
I will say that it wouldn't shock me if Tarvet takes the first set.
Yeah.
But after that, I just feel like
it's Carlos Alcaraz, if he goes 5, he's going to win anyway. So
we've talked about it so much that, in best of 5, beating Alcaraz is like climbing Everest twice in a day. Apart from the one I'll actually be watching, which is Nori Tiafoe, I'll probably watch Fonseca Brooksby.
Also, Jari Tian.
Yeah, Fonseca Brooksby was the one I was also thinking of going for. Obviously, we've already mentioned that Fritz Diallo is also a good one. So to satisfy my Polish fans and Ghosty, I will say, Kamil Ekshak, Ethan Queen, good match. I'm excited to see how it goes. I mean, Kamil was on a 7-match losing streak going into this event. Got Berrettini and, kind of needed some help to beat him, but he does have a grass court skill set. So I do think it's a pretty good match. But yeah, Fonseca Brooksby is probably like the cornerstone of tomorrow's Wimbledon for me.
That match that David just picked is the bronze medal match of the San Diego ATP 100 Challenger right there.
Because Kamil was in the semis and Queen was in the semis. Yeah, sure. Makes sense.
I would actually just like to say quickly before we finish that Arthur Ferry will never have a better opportunity to make a round 3 of Wimbledon than he does tomorrow.
I think he'll have better opportunities when he develops his game and he's not injured all the time. But this is definitely the best one, in his life yet. Opportunity to do anything. So, yeah, hopefully he is able to perform. Definitely did against
Alex
Ferry.
I forgot you kind of like Ferry. That's yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Until he makes round 3, and then you know, with some success, you bin them off immediately.
I mean, yeah, when he finally gets to a level where I think he can, and then I don't think he can go further, then sorry. But for now, I do like Ferry Cross the Mercy. So anyway, that's gonna be basically it, I think, from us. Very long show, but also it's obviously a long day. Australian Open and Roland Garros now start at Sunday, so you've got the first round split into 3 days. Wimbledon and the US Open don't do that, at least not yet. So we have a lot of action to cover. I think we did that. A lot of upsets today, pretty much the same as on day 1. So if round 2 is as crazy as this one was, it's going to be even more carnage in those brackets. And we basically will not even look at them anymore because we're just going to be dreading that and thinking, who the hell did I pick to make that semi-final? Well, sorry, Daniel Medvedev, you disappointed me, but I'm sure you will be better. I don't actually know if you will be. Anyway, yeah. Did we talk more about the men or the women, Ghosty? I don't know, and I didn't keep count.
I think more about the men.
Yeah, probably.
Wrong answer, Vanch. Wrong answer. If that's the answer, then you cannot admit it. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys. It was a great show.
Thanks,
and
guys.
by guys, I mean both the chatters and even including women, since guys can go for both genders. Thank you.
Hey, the men, they play longer matches. They play best of 5. So there you go.
I'm just sleeping. Yeah, I think everybody should play best of 5, and then we have more matches in contention for best.
Jessica Pegula does not agree with you.
Then Coco Gauff would win every single slam.
Jessica Pegula would win against Elisabetta Cocciaretto today if it was best.
Who else would really win? Yeah, I think Coco would win a lot, actually.
I mean,
I think Iga would.
And Iga would too, yeah. Iga and Coco.
If it was best of 5, they would all adapt. You know, that's kind of like the main thing. If you know you're going to be playing best of 5, you adapt to it.
Hot take, I don't think Sabalenka would be world number 1 if it was best of 5.
I don't think that's true. I don't think it would make a big difference.
Anyway, we need to wrap this up. We've been going for way too long.
Yes, we definitely do need to wrap this up. Thank you, Fergus. Thank you, Vanch. Thank you to everybody in the chat. The producer will close us out. Tomorrow, obviously, more content on the channel. I have no idea what is planned because somebody was asking earlier. I have no idea what is planned in terms of streaming, but Last Ball Drops will definitely be there and probably something midday as well. So, yeah, once more, thank you and see ya.
Sure.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.